What's going on, guys? It's Nate Dude! Today, we will be going over the update to the Templar tank build for the Elder Scrolls Online Flames of Ambition patch. We have changed a couple of things on the Paladin of Stendarr build from their previous update. However, the old setup still works. I just wanted to give it a more user-friendly setup. This setup has no trial gear. In fact, all the sets we are using is actually found in base game. There are a couple of different setup variations depending on group's gear. In particular, we will look at what gear the healer will be running. The build is now designed to help players control adds a lot easier, especially when you are running with pugs that tend to scatter the adds all over the place. I will also be doing 2 videos on this build. One video will be an extended version of the build with all the details on why I have this sort of setup and all the things that make this build tick. The other video will be an overview of the build. For those who just want a quick video of the build, can do so over there. In the videos, we will be going over stats, skills, passives, sets to run, and finally champion point setup for my current level. All of this is coming up next. So let's dive into the Paladin of Stendarr build, starting off in our character sheet. On our front bar, we are sitting at max magicka sitting at 21,600, max health at 4,800, max stam at 24,800, with a magicka recovery of 1,000, health recovery at 700, and stam recovery at 800. On our back bar though, however, our magicka recovery does go up to 1,100, health recovery at 787, and stam recovery at 977. Now if we pop our potion here, our magicka recovery on our front bar does go to 1,300, health recovery at 875, with stam recovery at 1,100, and then again on the back bar, magicka recovery goes to 1,400, with health recovery at 962, and stam recovery at 1,200. Our spell damage on our front bar is sitting at 2,100 with a spell critical rating at 11%, with spell penetration at 939. Weapon damage is at 2,500 with weapon critical at 11% with 0 physical penetration. This, however, does change when we go to our back bar, that our weapon damage does drop down to 2,400. Now for resistance wise, starting on our front bar, our spell resistance is at 22,600 with physical at 19,300. On our back bar though, it does go up to 22,900 for spell resistance. Physical is at 19,500. Now if we buff up our guy with our resistances on our front bar, our spell resistance goes to 31,600. Physical is at 28,200. On the back bar though, it does go up a little further with more resistance at 31,800 for spell resistance. Physical is at 28,500. However, we do have a set on that if we use a certain ability, this will actually get extended even further. So we will end up hitting pretty close to cap on physical. We will hit over cap on spell resistance. I will show you this later in the video. Attribute wise, we have 12 points into magicka, 40 points into health, and 12 points into stam. Now the reason for this is why we spread this out like this is because we do not have a lot of abilities that are actually based off our max health. And for me, I feel like my max health sitting at 40,000 is fairly good enough for PVE content on this patch. On top of it too, one of my guilds require us that our tanks actually run 40k health to do the trials with them. So to abide by the rules, I have my tank sitting at 40k health. You do not need to have your tank at 40k health. I know some people say 36k is good enough, and that it is. So you can run it at 36k health, and then put more points into magicka and stam to have more resources for other abilities to cast if you so do desire. For the Munda Stone that we are running the Lord to increase our max health. Like I said, just wanted to hit that nice 40k cap there, so that's why I have the Lord. If you hit 36k health and want to do some other things, you can. You could have more magicka, you can have magic recovery, you could go stam recovery if you really want to, if you are not going to block a lot. Choices there are yours. Now, going over into our skills, starting on our front bar. First skill we have is a flex skill. It is down into the Dawn's Wrath skill line. We are using our second ability, starts off as Solar Flare. We then morph it to Solar Barrage. This does deal damage to enemies within 8 meters around us for 10 seconds. Over 10 seconds, but only damages twice every 10 seconds. So it looks like something like this. As you see, it kind of ticks every 2 seconds. It ends up ticking and doing damage. Now, this reason we use this ability will, when active, it gains us empowerment, increasing our damage of our light and heavy attacks by 40%. So this allows us to do a little bit of damage when we activate this. On top of it is, as a tank, you're going to be gathering the adds. You're going to be grouping up people, and they're all going to be around you. So this is a nice way to kind of help out the DPS a little bit, because you're going to also be doing damage as well. So your fights are going to last a little bit shorter because you're doing damage as well, increasing your light and heavy attacks. So if you light weave while this is going through, you can do other things. Let's say block, pull adds in, deep slash, pierce, whatever. You can do things while this thing is running. There's also another reason why we have this ability slotted. Later in the passives, you'll find out why. For a flex spot, you also could go into the Adriatic Spear skill line. You could go down to the Fist ability to unlock. Starts off as Sun Shield, you then morph it to Radiant Ward. This grants you a damage shield that absorbs 12,200 damage for 6 seconds. This is now scaled based off of your max health. So yes, like I was saying earlier, you could put more health because this is one ability that is scaled off your max health. But for me, however, I really don't use this a whole lot because I can survive without a damage shield. And I prefer the other ability because of a passive that it helps with. But I do know some people like damage shield, so this is a damage shield ability we can use here instead. Also on top of it, nearby enemies take 3,400 magic damage when you activate this shield. And each enemy hit by it also increases the shield strength by 9%. So the more enemies you have, the stronger your shield will be. So this is a really nice ability to use as well if you do not want Solar Barrage. Going over, our next ability we have is down in the One-Handed Shield skill line. It is the second ability to unlock, starts off as Low Slash. We then morph it to Deep Slash. This deals 4,100 physical damage to an enemy and all other nearby enemies up to 6 meters around them. This also will reduce the movement speed of all enemies hit by 30% for 4 seconds. So all the enemies that are hit with it are also inflicted by Minor Main, so reducing their damage done by 5% for 12 seconds. So this is a really strong ability here to use to help us become a little bit more tankier, because we're not going to take as much damage now from the enemies that are hitting us. On top of it, you are also protecting your allies with this ability, so they don't take as much damage on those squishy DPS. However, DPS ain't really this squishy this patch around because everybody got an increase to Magicka, health, and stam, along with weapon and spell damage as well. So, next ability we have is down into the Fighters Guild skill line. It is the first ability to unlock, starts off as Silver Bolt. We then morph it to Silver Leash. This fires a Dawnguard crossbolt hook to pull an enemy to us, dealing with 3,200 physical damage and reduces their movement speed by 30% for 4 seconds. So, Templars as a class do not have a pull ability like a Dragon Knight does with their chains. We have to look elsewhere, so this is where we look. We look down in the Fighters Guild and we use Silver Leash to pull enemies to us. So this will help group up enemies a lot easier. You got the melee fighters who are going to basically be on you. This is to pull in those mages and archers into the group of adds. Now what really helps us group up things is our next ability here. Also still in the Fighters Guild skill line, it is second ability to unlock, starts off as Circle of Protection. We then morph it to Turn Evil. This binds the earth at our location with a rune to protect us for 20 seconds. Us and our allies in the area gain minor protection and minor endurance, so we reduce the damage taken by 5% and increase our stamina recovery by 15%. So allies who are stand based are most likely going to probably be next to you, unless they're doing a bow build, then they're going to be out of range. However, this will help us as a tank because we're reducing the damage we take by 5% and we're increasing our stand recovery by 15%. Now, what I said about the main grouping of adds, because is when we activate this, upon activation, enemies in the area are feared for 5 seconds. 5 seconds is quite a long time for a tank to especially grouping up adds. You do this, you got about 5 seconds to pull all the adds you can into the group, so that way you group up everything really nicely in one spot. So this is helping us with our crowd control area. Over to the next ability we have is up into the one-handed and shield skill line again. It is the first ability to unlock, starts off as puncture. We then morph it to pierce armor. This, we pierce an enemy, dealing 2,700 physical damage and taunting them to attack us for 15 seconds. This is our main taunt ability. We're going to use this, especially because when we use this, it inflicts minor breach and major breach on an enemy. So it reduces their physical and spell resistance by 2,900 and for the minor breach, and major breach is 5,900 for 15 seconds. So if we roughly round those numbers up and add them together, you're reducing enemies' physical and spell resistance by 9,000. Now, why is this important? Because every add, every boss, everything in PVE content has a total of 18,200 physical and spell resistance. The lower you get their resistance, the stronger your DPS is going to hit, as well as you. Might not be much, but you're going to notice the difference on how much you hit because you have lowered their resistances. So this is why we want to use this as our main taunt ability. Make sure you do not let this run out. This has to stay on. You want to apply it, because if you don't apply it, then your DPS are probably going to get attacked, and same with your healer, and you might kill them because you didn't taunt. Now, what does the taunt ability look like? When we taunt here, if you look under the target skeleton's humanoid's ability, or their health bar there, if you look at the far right side, you've got a shape of a shield. That's at now 9 seconds. That ability there, that's the blackened one, that is the one you do not want to run out. Keep that up at all times. But, however, do not over taunt it. Do not keep taunting it like this, because if you keep taunting it over it, you're not going to apply it. Of course, we can on a target here, but in dungeons, you will not be able to taunt them anymore. And then you will have to wait for it to run out. I roughly like to re-taunt them at about roughly somewhere between 7 to about 3 to 2 seconds left on their taunt, depending on what it is. And depending on mechanics on the boss as well. Now, for our ultimate we're using on this bar is still in the one-handed shield skill line. We use shield wall, then morph it to spell wall. This reinforces our shield, allowing us to automatically block all attacks at no cost and reflecting all projectiles cast at us for 6.7 seconds. If it's all the way leveled up, it would actually be for 8 seconds. Now, I know a bunch of you are like, I know a lot of people use the other morph to lower the cost on our abilities within the one-handed shield skill line bar. But for me personally, I find these are already low based on our race that we'll go over to later. I find them actually very low. The main reason I like this one is because projectiles, you do not realize how many bosses in the game actually use a lot of projectiles in the boss fights, or adds use projectiles to knock you off of stuff. So by having this on, we can pop this in order to get a quick res off. Since we are a Templar, we have very quick reses, and we even further that up with champion point systems. So this is why I use spell wall here, just to get a res off if I really need to get a teammate up. However, if you don't want to use spell wall, another recommendation I would do is down into the restoring light skill line. With the rite of passage, we would then morph it to remembrance, because this will heal us and nearby allies for 6,600 health every 1 second for 4 seconds in a 20 meter radius. So if they move out of 20 meters, you're not going to heal them. But the main thing is we gain major protection, reducing our damage taken by 10% for 10 seconds. However, we cannot move while channeling while casting this, but you gain immunity to all disabling effect. You can actually move in it, it doesn't mean when you cast it, you're standing still, you can't move. You can move. However, if you do roll dodge, you will stop casting that ability no more. It'll be done. Then you'll have to wait till you get your ultimate up again in order to cast it again. Me, personally, I like the shield because you can move with it. The other one, you have to stand still. Otherwise, you're not channeling it. And some bosses actually can kill you even though you have major protection on your guy and all these other buffs applied. Over into our back bar, starting off with our first ability is in the Restoring Light skill line. It is the third ability to unlock, starts off as Restoring Aura. Then we morph it to Radiant Aura. This applies Minor Magicka Steel to all enemies around us for 20 seconds up to 28 meters out, causing us and our allies to restore 168 Magicka every 1 second when damaging them. Now, the main reason I like using this one is because we get a nice little chunk of Magicka back. On top of it, a lot of the DPS I tend to run with actually are Magicka-based DPS, so this actually helps keep their recovery up as well. The nice thing about this ability too is also while we have it slotted, we gain Minor Fortitude, Minor Endurance, and Minor Intellect, increasing our health, stam, and Magicka recovery by 15%. So this is why our recoveries are a little bit higher on our back bar than our front bar, is due to this ability being slotted here. Now Nate, why don't you double bar it? Because we have so many other abilities that we need to use that we want on other bars as well. So next ability we have is still in the Restoring Light. It is the fourth ability to unlock. Starts off as Cleansing Ritual, then morph it to Extended Ritual. This has a 12-meter radius lasting for 24 seconds. This, when we use, will cleanse up to 5 harmful effects from ourselves immediately. And when we use it, it will heal us and nearby allies for 1,700 health every 2 seconds, basically 1,800 with that 99 there, for 24 seconds. So every 2 seconds, it'll tick and we'll get some health back. Nice thing also about this is it is a synergy that allies can use to purify themselves, which will cleanse all harmful effects from themselves and heal for 4,500 health. This ability is scaled off of our highest offensive stat. So this is a really nice thing to have just for cleansing purposes, because there are a lot of dungeons out there that actually have poisons and diseases and things that need to be cleansed, even like getting affected by like flames or frost. Cleanses are really nice in the game, and this will help. On top of it, we are doing a little bit of healing here as well to keep ourselves alive. Over into the next ability we have, we're still staying in the same tree. With the first ability to unlock, starts off as Rush Ceremony. We then morph it to Honor the Dead. This is a 28-meter radius with a target of a cone. So what a target of a cone means is from where you're standing in a pie shape going outwards up to 28 meters is the range where you can hit somebody with this or yourself. So basically what this does is we heal ourselves or wound an ally in front of us for 7,300 health. Now, if we heal anybody who is below 75% health, we restore 18% of the ability's cost every 2 seconds over 6 seconds as Magicka. So we kind of get some of our Magicka cost back from this. Most of the time, this is our, oh snap, we're going to die ability. So this is where we particularly use it. I know some people may ask, well, Nathan, that doesn't seem like a really strong skill. Why don't you use an ability down into the Assault skill line? With the first ability, Vigor, morph it to Resolving Vigor to heal us 12,045 health over 4 seconds. Yes, we could go this way around for the stamp, but however, I like the initial burst. Like all of a sudden, I kind of need it now because Resolving is over time. We already have an ability that is over time, that's Extended Ritual. I wanted something that was going to give me an instant burst, so that way I knew I could give some health back right away. Also, if you look at some passives later, you'll see kind of why this kind of adds to it, why this actually becomes a little bit stronger. So, over into the next ability. Back up into Restoring Light. It is the fifth ability to unlock. Starts off as Rune Focus. We then morph it to Restoring Focus. This lasts for 20 seconds. We create a rune that protects us and grants us major resolve, increasing our physical and spell resistance by 5,900. And we also recover 240 stamina every 1 1 second. So we're getting stand while we're standing within this rune. That is including while we're blocking. We can hold block and we will get some stand back while blocking with this on. Now, I know the little note down here says, while standing within the rune increases your physical and spell resistance granted by 50%. So, what that means is, when we cast this ability, we'll go back up to our stats here. We can see our spell resistance at 31,800, physical is at 28,500. Cast it again and go outside the rune. We still get major resolve, we just get a little bit more while we're in it, because we're at 28,800 with physical at 25,500. Now we let this run out so we can do the math real quick. It's roughly 6,000. As you can see, 19,500, 22,900. So if we do the math of 6,000, yes, 6,000 plus 22 is 28, and 19,000 plus 6 is 25,000. So you get major resolve while you're out. When you cast the rune and standing outside it, you get a little bit more resistance if you stand within it. So you want to make sure to stay within your rune to get the most resistance out of this ability as you can. Now going over into our last skill is up in the Adriatic Spear skill line. It is the third ability to unlock, starts off as Force Charge. We then morph it to Explosive Charge. This has a 22 meter range with a 6 meter radius, which we impale all enemies in the area, dealing 3,500 magicka damage. So this is kind of our to get to someplace very quickly when we need to. Nice thing about this is any enemies hit that are casting are interrupted, set off balance, and stunned for 3 seconds, which there are actually a lot of bosses in the game that actually use channeling abilities. That's that big red flare that goes around their head when they're channeling an ability. We want to make sure to use this on them because this will help interrupt them. This is what this ability does. So by using this on those guys will stop channeling that heavy mechanic that everybody needs to interrupt themselves. So it's a nice ability to get from place to place, and for the interrupt and stun off balance and stuff like that, because if we heavy attack somebody who's off balance, we end up getting more resources back as well. For the ultimate here, we are using down into the Assault skill line. Starts off as Warhorn. We then morph it to Aggressive Warhorn. This has a 20 meter radius and lasts for 30 seconds. This increases ours and our group members' max magicka and max stand by 10% for 30 seconds. So everybody gets larger resource pools to use for things, but the main reason we end up using this is because we also give everybody major force, increasing their critical damage done by 20% for 10 seconds. So for the first 10 seconds when you cast this ability, everybody's getting major force, so they're doing a lot more damage with their critical attacks. And those who end up stacking the Barbed Trap get the minor force, so that will stack with the major. Remember, major can stack with minor, but major and major cannot stack. So just keep that in mind if somebody else is running other abilities like so. If you want to, you could. If you do not have access to that yet, you could start off into the Dawn's Wrath skill line and actually use Nova here to apply Major Main on targets to reduce their damage done by 10%. And on top of it, also have a synergy for allies to use that deals 5,800 magicka damage to all enemies in the area. Other morphs, it don't matter on which morph. One morph is, it still applies to them after 6 seconds after leaving the circle, which is the one that I kind of like most of the time too, as we show you here. It's called Solar Disturbance. Persist on enemies who leave the Nova for 6 seconds. That's the one that I would go with if I were to use Solar Disturbance. Now, we're going over the passive starting up into the Adriatic Spear skill line. Or Adriatic Spear line. First passive we have is Piercing Spear. This increases our critical damage by 10%. If we end up doing hit crit with only 11% chance, chances are we're not going to hit it, but increases our damage done to block targets by 10%, so nice to actually do a little bit more damage to those guys who are blocking. Spear Wall, we gain minor protection for 6 seconds, reducing damage taken by 5% when activating a Adriatic Spear ability. So that's when we activate this, or if we were using this in our flex spot for Radiant War, that's where this would be as well. Next passive we have is Burning Light. When we deal damage with an Adriatic Spear ability 4 times in rapid succession, we deal 3,000 physical damage or 2,600 magic damage to targets, whichever is higher. Yes, we ain't using something like Puncturing Strikes, we're just using mostly Explosive Charge, so it's just if you were to, as you were leveling up, use Puncturing Strikes. So this is a passive we don't necessarily have to use, but if you want to use, let's say, Puncturing Strikes, then this one would help with that. Balanced Warrior, increasing our weapon damage by 6% and spell resistance by 2,600. That is why our spell resistance is quite higher than our physical resistance, is because of this passive right here. Weapon damage helps us with DPS a little bit. Not major, but a little bit always helps. Now in Dawn's Wrath skill line, we have Enduring Rays. This increases the duration of our Sunfire, Eclipse, Solar Flares, and Nova ability by 2 seconds. So if you were going to use your Nova ultimate there, this is what that will increase the duration on that. Will help that out. Prism, casting a Dawn's Wrath ability while in combat, generates 3 ultimate. This effect can occur once every 6 seconds. So, like I said earlier, this is why we have Solar Barrage. This lasts for 10 seconds. Granted, we get ultimate every 6 seconds, but you can let this kind of run out to kind of, as your self-timer, okay, it's out, now I cast it again to make sure to get some ultimate while you're in combat. Next we have Illuminate. Casting a Dawn's Wrath ability grants minor sorcery to you and your group members by 20 seconds, increasing your spell damage by 10%. So this is also why we run Solar Barrage, is because by casting this, we're getting that empowerment, increasing our damage of our light and heavy attacks by 40%. We're also generating ultimate because we cast it. On top of it now is we're now helping group members out who are definitely magicka based with their spell damage for 20 seconds whenever we cast it. Since this is a 10-second ability, that gives you a self-timer of, okay, I have 10 more seconds of minor sorcery. So if you keep this up more often, your group is always going to have minor sorcery, so you're going to keep everybody doing a little bit more damage with spell damage. So keep up Solar Barrage as best you can. You don't need to spam it. You can wait till it runs out. That will work. Restoring Spirit reduces the health, magicka, stam, and ultimate cost of your abilities by 5%. So that is why also, if we look at our aggressive Warhorn, that's why our aggressive Warhorn is down to 225 ultimate, is due to our passive here, along with other passives we will be getting into shortly. Restoring Light, starting off with Mending. Increase the healing effect from your Restoring Light abilities up to 12% in portion of the severity of target's wound. So by us actually having lower health, this will actually kick in by 12%. So that's why this is our, oh snap, we're gonna die heal. At lower health, we use this, we're gonna get resources back. On top of it, it's gonna heal us now for 12% stronger based on the proportion of our wounds. That's why I like this over Resolving Vigor, is because Resolving Vigor is a tick over a couple seconds. Breath of Life is an snap when we really need it, and we're getting a lot of health back due to Mending here. Now, Sacred Ground. While standing in our own Cleansing Ritual, Rune Focus, or Rite of Passage, area of effect, and for up to 4 seconds of leaving it, again, minor Mending, increasing our healing done by 8%. So, that is why we want to kind of, per se, as a tank, build our house, because we have an ability like this. This gives us minor Mending, because it's a rune. We have this circle. That meter there is, if we stay within that and up to 4 seconds of leaving it, we get minor Mending. So, just kind of stacking things up on heals, we're getting more healing done to us just because we're standing in these circles. So, stay within your circles, build your house. And this will stack with our Mending on top with our Honor of the Dead. So this all kind of are compounding on top of each other. Also, increase the amount of damage we can block by 10% for the duration. So that's why we also want to cast those abilities, because now we're actually negating a lot of damage done to us because we're standing within our own rune and cleansing ritual. Lightweaver here, when you heal an ally under 50% health and restore with a restoring light ability, we grant them 2 ultimates. So yes, we can also give people some ultimate if we heal them as well. So that's why it's also nice to just kind of keep up your abilities, because they're healing people. If they are below health, you're giving them ultimate as well. So you're kind of helping your team out there. And if we end up using the Rite of Passage ability, we gain 333 physical and spell resistance while we're channeling it. However, that doesn't, like I said earlier, that does not make us immune to bosses' heavy attacks. It just allows us to deal with adds a lot easier. Next passive, we have Master Ritual. It's increasing our resurrection speed by 20%. So we are able to res allies a little bit quicker than most other classes in the game. However, yes, I know a Necromancer has an instant cast for an ultimate where they can res people right away. However, when we do it, we resurrect allies returning with 100% more health. So they will have all their health back when we res them. And it also gives us a 50% chance to fill an empty soul gem after each successful resurrection. So if we have an empty soul gem with us, which most of the time I try to carry one, so that way we can fill it when we res somebody, so we save on soul gems as well. Now over into one-handed shield, since we have no other weapon abilities. First one we have is Fortress. Reduce the stam cost of our one-handed shield abilities by 15%, and reduce the cost of blocking by 36%. So lower the cost on that, on top of our other passives that we talked about earlier. Also lowers cost on that ability as well, and we can now block for longer because we also have a reduced cost of block by 36%. Sword and Board, this increases our weapon damage by 5% and the amount of damage you can block by 20%. So this is now negating more damage as we block with our other passive that we had earlier. Deadly Bash, this improves our standard bash attack, causing them to deal 1,500 more damage and cost 44% less. This is nice because when you need to interrupt and do not want to use our interrupt ability here, Explosive Charge, then by bashing them, it has a lower cost to stam, so we can have our stam pool up a lot higher for when we need to block longer. Deflecting Bolts, this increases the amount of damage we can block from projectiles and range attacks by 14%. So what that means is projectiles are considered magical attacks. So that's using like flame bolts, lightning bolts, frost spikes, things like that are projectiles. What they say range attack, that means typically bow and arrow. So battlefield mobility is the last one here. This reduces movement speed penalty of bracing by 36%. So we can move a little bit faster because we have this on. If you do not have 2 out of 2, then you're going to see that you don't move quite as fast as I do. Over into armor. For armor, we are running a 5-1-1 setup yet still this patch. So what I mean by that is we are running 5 heavy, 1 light, 1 medium. So we have a lot more passives that are dealing with the heavy armor than we do have light armor. Again, on this patch, we actually got some bonuses and penalties. So for light armor bonuses, we have reduced damage taken from magical attacks by 1%, reduce the cost of dodge or roll dodge by 3%, and reduce movement speed penalty of sneak by 5, reduce break free by 5, and reduce the cost of bash by 3%. Penalties for wearing light armor is take more damage from martial attacks by 1, increase cost of block by 3, decrease damage done by bash by 1, and that's it. So over into Grace, passive we have to select is reduce the effectiveness of snares applied to us by 4% and reduce the cost of sprint by 3. Advocate, this increases our magic recovery by 4 and reduce the magic cost of our abilities by 2%. Since we do have a lot of magic abilities, this is really nice to have. Spell Ward, increase our spell resistance by 726. Prodigy, increase our spell critical rating by 219. And Concentration, increasing our spell penetration by 939, and that's where we get it earlier in our character sheet. This is where we get that 939 from. Over medium armor, we only get bonuses from medium armor. There is no penalty, so for wearing one piece of medium armor, we get reduce the cost of sprint by 1, cost of sneak by 5, cost of block by 3, and reduce damage taken from aerial effect attacks by 2% after we roll dodge. So we must roll dodge in order to get that reduction damage from area effects attacks by 2%. Also, we increase our movement speed by 2% while immune to crowd control, so we have to break free and be immune to get increased movement speed by 2%. So for passive we have to use here, we have Dexterity, increasing our weapon critical by 219. Windwalker, increase our stam recovery by 4% and reduce the stam cost of our ability by 2%. We have also a lot of stam abilities, so this is also a very nice passive and why we want to get this one as well. Improve Sneak, you do not have to get this one if you do not desire. This is just to reduce the cost of sneak and reduce the size of your detection area while sneaking by 5%. So again, you don't need this. This is just if you really want to. Agility, increases our weapon damage by 2%. Since we are using weapon damage, we'll end up doing a little bit more damage with them. Athletics, this increases the movement speed bonus of sprint by 3% and reduce the cost of dodge roll by 4%. This is a really nice passive to have because as a tank, you will find sometimes it's almost better to roll dodge than block an attack, especially if you're trying to get out of the area on some things. Over into heavy armor. For bonuses, we get reduced damage taken from martial attacks by 1%, increase amount of the amount of damage blocked by 1, increase damage done with bash by 3, and reduce our damage taken while immune to crowd control effects by 1%. Penalties of wearing heavy armor is we increase damage taken of magical attacks by 1%, reduce movement speed, bonus of sprint by 1, increase the cost of roll dodge by 3, and increase the size of our detection area while sneaking by 10%. So that sneak that we had in medium armor doesn't really help us out here. Again, this gets a little bit higher because we are wearing 5 pieces, so this is for each piece, so technically we have a 5% increase taken from magical damage. So passives we have to slot here is we have Resolve. This increases our physical and spell resistance by 1,700. Constitution increases our health recovery by 20%. Also, we restore 541 magic on stam when we take damage for each piece of heavy armor equipped. That's in total, so it's only 108 for each piece. I was just telling you guys total first. Juggernaut increases our max health by 10%. Revitalize, this increases our magicka or stam, our heavy attacks restored by 20%. We are only going to get stam back because I am running sword and board on both bars. Rapid Mending, increasing our healing received by 5%. So this is healing that we get from other people who are healing us or ourselves, is they're going to be a little bit stronger by 5% for wearing more heavy pieces of armor. Now for passive here, Soul Magic, this is an option if you want to get this passive. This will allow you to revive once every hour without spending a soul gem, so you can save on some soul gems there. Fighter's Guild abilities, we have Intimidating Presence because this allows us to intimidate NPCs in conversation. This passive right there helps for questing purposes. However, the nice bonus here is reduce the stam cost of our Fighter Guild ability by 15%, since Turn Evil is a very heavy cost ability. Even Expert Hunter is one too, so if you use it on other builds that use it, I would highly recommend getting that passive there just to reduce the cost, just in case you accidentally use it in PVE and don't need to. Slayer here, this increases our weapon damage for each Fighter Guild ability slotted. We have none on this bar, but on our other bar we have 2, so we get a 6% more damage bonus. That's why our damage is higher on our front bar. Banish of the Wicked, we generate 3 ultimate whenever we kill an enemy. So if we get the off chance of killing an enemy, this will help us actually get ultimate to cast out ultimates a little bit quicker on that. Skilled Tractor, our Fighter Guild ability to deal additional 20% damage to undead, daedra, and werewolves. And yes, vampires are included as undead as well. So the only ability that applies to is our Silver Leash up here. Mage's Guild, same thing here with the Persuasive Will. This is just for questing purposes. The only reason why I use it just to get along with questing a little bit faster. In the Undaunted skill line here, we have Undaunted Command. This activating a synergy restores 4% of our max health, stam, and magicka. So for us, we get 1,700 health, 994 stam, and 867 magicka. So we get quite a decent amount of resources for that. So the higher our health is, we'd get, if we put more attributes into health would get back more. Undaunted Metal, increasing our max health, stam, and magicka by 2% per type of armor worn. So if we're at least wearing one heavy, one medium, and one light, we're going to get 6%. However, if you're going to run more heavy, let's say run 6 pieces of heavy and then 1 medium, we're only going to get then 4%. And if you run all heavy, then you'll only get 2%. So keep that in mind. Over in the Assault, we just kind of have continuous attack here because this gives us major gallop at all times, increasing our mount speed by 30%, so we can actually run and get places quicker. So this is just a flavor thing. You don't need this. This will not make or break the build. It's just something I like to have. We are running an Imperial on this build. However, you do not need to run an Imperial. I just like the Imperial because this is my idea of a Templar tank, because I find the Imperials fit more of that Holy Warrior playstyle, of that Holy Knight. You can run any other class, or I should say any other race that you prefer. I do have a video on that. What is the best tanks in the Elder Scrolls Online, basically telling you that basically any tank or any race can tank. So choices are yours. I just like running Imperial. If you do change it, skills and stats will change. So we have toughness here. This increases our max health by 2,000, keeping us alive. Imperial Metal, this increases our max stam by 2,000, so this is for mostly our blocking purposes and taunting. Next we have Red Diamond, so this reduces the cost of all our abilities by 6%, so that is why on top of it, our Aggressive Warhorn is only sitting at 225 ultimate. Yes, if we're wearing another set, this would actually go even lower, but I am not wearing that set on this guy. So this is just off the base, based off of our passives from our class and passives as our race. Now, very important passive that you need to have, will help your build significantly, is medicinal use. Whenever you use a potion, results last 30% longer. Right away in the game, by having 0 in medicinal use, potions effects on there only last for 36 seconds, and potions cooldown have a 45-second time. So you will have a downtime of 9 seconds where you do not get the potion's effect. So by having this, they will last for 47 seconds, and you'll have a 100% uptime on the potion effects. So get medicinal use. Very important passive to have. Next, down into provisioning. We are going to use Gourmet because we are using a food buff. So this will add 20 minutes to the duration of any eaten food. So by having a longer food duration, we don't have to consume so much, so we don't have to use our personal resources or, let's say, spend gold on other stuff. If you decide to use a drink, then you want to make sure to get Connoisseur here, because that will give you 20-minute duration on any consumed drink then. I'm running food, so I want Gourmet. Now, over into sets and gear, all the nice juicy stuff we want. Starting off with our Slottables. I am running the Crown Fortified Meal because I get these for dailies. Pretty much a tri-food is what this is. Just to increase our max health, magicka, and stam for 2.5 hours. It does go a lot higher because of our Gourmet passive and also one of our champion points also. If you want to and spend a little bit more money, we can go into Bewitched Sugar Skulls just to get a higher health, higher stam, and higher magicka, and on top of it we'll get the additive bonus of health recovery to 462 on top of whatever we have. So choices there are yours. If you want to, run for consumables. Now for potions, I like just to run in the Tri-Restoration pots. Also, again, we get these in daily logins, so that's why I end up running these. If you don't have enough for daily logins, all it is just crafting tri-pots basically. So this will restore 9,000 health, 7,500 magicka, and stam. And when we do that, we also gain major fortitude, major intellect, and major endurance, which increases our health, magicka, and stam recovery by 30% for 47.3 seconds. With the potion being cooldown of 45 seconds, so this is where medicinal use gets applied to. So we want to make sure get a medicinal use for that 47 second. Now for gear. First set we are running is the Sanctuary set. On our front bar, I decided to go with the Crusher enchantment to reduce the target's physical and spell resistance by 936. Because if we apply this now with our Pierce Armor, we're now roughly reducing targets with this popping off is we're reducing the target's physical and spell resistance down by 10,000, so they only have 8,200 physical and spell resistance left, making it a lot easier for DPS to cut through that. With the infused trait, that just increases the trait value of the enchantment with enchantment cooldown by 5%. So, Sanctuary set. For 2 pieces, this adds 1,100 max health. 3 pieces, 4% healing taken. Healing taken is very important on a tank because this is a healing that we're going to get. On top of it, we get 1,000 max magicka. Now, the 5-piece bonus is increase your healing received by 10% for you and up to 11 group members within 10 meters of you. Now, I know a bunch of you guys are probably sitting there asking, well, why are you running a healer set on a tank? Because by looking at other builds on YouTube and stuff, I'm seeing that more and more people are running like Spell Power Cure or Hollow Fang's Thirst. So I figured that most healers are actually not running the Sanctuary set, so I want to apply this and help everybody, help the healer out, heal everybody a little bit stronger. On top of it, this is actually an additive bonus for us because we are also increasing our healing done to ourselves. So our self-heal, Honor the Dead, gets a lot stronger. Because I was finding it in past patches without running the set, is for me it just felt really weak, and it's probably one of the weakest self-heals on any class. We'll just put it that way. It is the weakest one on any class because, let's say, for instance, a Dragon Knight. Dragon Knight has green blood, which is based off of how much they're missing on health, and it's based off of max health. As a Templar, we're probably the only class that does not have a self-heal that's based off of missing health. So ours is based off basically magicka. How strong our magicka is how much it heals us. So by having this, we're actually increasing our healing way better. So that's why we want to run the Sanctuary set on the build. However, if the healer is running Sanctuary, we then can go over to a different set. And for that set, I would then say go into Alkir Desert, because then we will want the Order of Dinaj, because this will give us max health, and for 4 pieces we get healing taken, kind of like our Sanctuary set. 5th piece bonus is add 5% healing taken. On top of it, the 5-item piece also grants minor vitality at all times, increasing our healing received by 8%. So we're still going to get a lot of healing done to us, even though we're not running the Sanctuary set. So if your healer is running Sanctuary and you know it, then this would be a very good option to go to, because this is also a heavy armor set. So now let's go into our other stuff that we are running. So next set we have for our shield is Max Stam Enchantment, Shield of the Tormentor, with the Sturdy trait, because we want to reduce the cost of blocking by 3.5%, just because the lower cost on blocking, the longer we can block with our Stam pool. Now, part of the Tormentor set, for 2 pieces, we have 1,100 max health. For survivability, 3-piece, and 4-piece is 4% healing taken. So there we go. We're now stacking a lot of healing taken along with our Sanctuary set, giving healing taken there. So now we're total at 12% just for bonuses of healing taken there. Now the 5-piece bonus here is when you deal direct damage with a charge, leap, teleport, or pull ability, we gain 3,500 physical and spell resistance and taunt the enemy to attack us for 15 seconds. So, now, why run this? Because especially in pug groups, you usually have somebody who runs ahead of the group if they just want to get done with the dungeon really quick. They just run. So, by having our toppling charge here, or explosive charge I should say, I'll show you the skill. Here we go. Explosive charge. This is a charge ability, so this will end up taunting everybody. Nice part about this is, now that became our ranged taunt. I like to run 2 types of taunts. One's a close, and one's a range, just in case if I need to do something. So, by now doing that, it becomes a range taunt. And like I said, it taunts anything. Even our pull here our silver leash. That's a taunt. Granted, I didn't pull him, but it became a taunt now. So by pulling ads in, we have taunted them. By toppling charge, we have taunted them. On top of it, now we get more resistance. So if we actually stack up our resistance here real quick, over into character sheet, there is where our max resistance sits at. Spell at 35,300, physical at 32,000. So we are over cap for spell, we are almost at cap for physical. Inventory. So again, this is why I run it, because we're gonna end up pulling ads to us. And yes, it may be dangerous because we're now pulling the ads, everybody's focused on us and taking the damage. That is why we want to also run the sanctuary set, is because we're increasing our healing to us, so that way we can stay alive a lot easier. So for a backup weapon on the Mace of Sanctuary, we want the Weakening Enchantment. This reduces target weapon damage and spell damage by 160, just to kind of make us a little bit survivable as a tank if this does proc. And we do power to increase our healing done by 4%, just to make sure our O snap heal are a lot stronger, and a lot of our abilities that are healing are on our back bar as well. You don't have to run this if you don't want to, but this is a way I like to, and this is what I find a lot easier for myself. Shield of Tormentor, basically the same thing. We are running Max Stam Enchantment with Reinforce, just to give us a little bit more resistance on our back bar, since that is where we apply our major resolve. Now for Monster Helm, we are running the Engine Guardian set. On this one, I went with the Health Enchantment to increase my health by 1,000, with the Infused Trait just to give it a lot stronger of a charge, just because this is a big piece. Your big piece is your head, chest, and legs. On top of, if you are running Sword and Board, shield is also considered a big piece as well. So the Engine Guardian thing is giving us 124 health recovery, and for 2 pieces is when we use an ability, we have a 25% chance to summon a Dwemer automation to restore 531 stam or magicka or 2,000 health to us every half a second for 6 seconds, and this can occur once every 10 seconds. So this is just to keep our recoveries up and going, so that way we can stay in the fight a lot longer, because we're getting resources back. Yes, I know it's based off a chance that whenever we, let's say, cast an ability like so, that, oh, it's going to maybe come out like there. It's only a 25% chance, and it's depending on which one. This one happened to be Stam. It wasn't magic or health. But if we do it again, we maybe get a different one. If you're not really comfortable with the guess thing, there are other sets that you can do. Let's say if you're more of a blocker, somebody who likes to block, can go into dungeons, and it is in Frostvault. We then can go Stonekeeper set, because this will give us all of our max resources. And then whenever we block, we gain a charge stack. When we gain 6 charges, we release energy, restoring 2,393 stam and magicka, and heal for 2,500 health. That's if you want to do that. Or since we are healing a lot, but then again, since we don't have a control on the heal, it's all over the place. Another set we could go into is down into Dark Shades Cavern, is Sentinel of Rugama, for more healing done, and then giving us 121 magicka and stam to us and our allies within 5 meters every 1 second when that Dwemer spider is active. It's another set we could do. So chest is the Tormentor. Our head here is a heavy piece. Chest here is a heavy piece with max health enchantment, reinforced trait. Shoulders is the medium armor piece here with max stam enchantment with the sturdy trait to reduce cost of block. Waist here is the Sash of Sanctuary, and the Sanctuary set is a light armor piece, so that will be our light piece there with max stam enchantment, sturdy trait. Hands, Tormentor, max stam, sturdy trait. Legs, max stam, reinforced trait, because it's a bigger piece, we get more armor bonus from that. And feet is also Tormentor with max stam, sturdy trait. Now over into jewelry, we are running the Sanctuary set, with the necklace having stam recovery enchantment with robust trait to increase our max stam by 847, with the jewelry all being magic recovery enchantment by 157, and arcane increasing our max magicka by 847. Now, finally over into champion point system. Starting in the green tree, I have 20 points into Gilded Fingers, 10 into Fortune Favor, 15 into Wanderer, 20 into Breakfall, 33 into Soul Reservoir, 50 points into Meticulous Disassembly, 50 points into Treasure Hunter, 10 into Steadfast Enchantments, 30 points into Rationer, and 75 points into Liquid Effects. Over into the blue tree, I have 10 points into Tireless Discipline, 10 points into Eldritch Insight, 40 points into Blessed, 40 points into Quick Recovery, 40 points into Hardy, 40 into Preparation, 40 into Elemental Aegis. Then we have 30 points into Duelist Rebuff, 10 points into Enduring Resolve, 10 points into Unassistable, then 50 points into Bulwark. Over in the red, we have 50 points into Boundless Vitality, we have 50 points into Rejuvenation, 10 points into Defiance, 15 into Tumbling, 20 into Mystic Tenacity, we got 20 points into Survival Instincts, 25 into Tampered Souls, 50 points into Spirit Mastery, 20 points into Tireless Guardian, 15 points into Savage Defense, with 45 points into Fortification. There you have it for the Paladin of Stendarr. Thank you all for watching. If you want to help support the channel, help by subscribing down below. And if you really want to keep up to date with this build or any of my other content, click that notification bell so that way you get notified when I do update a build or update a video. You can then go over to Twitch and follow me over there. I do stream there regularly at 6 p.m. Central Time. If you do have questions on the build, you can leave a comment down below, or you can go over to Twitter and ask me over there. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.